Alright, I'm going to start off a 5 Leagues from the Borderland campaign in the world of Conan. Well, one of the worlds. Specifically, like the Marvel Comics one from the 1980s. This here is a really good guide. It's the Mongoose role-playing game from the early 2000s. But it's got a lot of information in it. We're going to be starting right here in the Westermark, here by the Bosonian Marches. Okay, I'm going to do a short history on Conan, created by Robert E. Howard in the 1920s, 1930s. First, I might do the negative. The racism in it is a little troubling, but what are you going to do? He's a guy from rural Texas in the 1930s. Sexism is a little bit easier to deal with. Actually, I find it quite amusing. It's kind of like the sexism of a horny 14-year-old boy. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a queen or a barmaid, all women swoon at the sight of Conan and end up in his bed. All right, Robert E. Howard's Conan first appeared in like the Strange Tale and Weird Tales pulp magazines of the 1920s and 1930s. It also had like H.P. Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith, writers like that. He didn't really gain popularity in his own lifetime, and he kind of tragically ended his own life. But Conan became really popular in the late 1960s, early 70s. I think these two guys right here, L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter, are pretty much responsible for the popularity of Conan, which created the sword and sorcery genre of fiction with lots of kind of other characters similar to Conan. Cain is one of my favorites. He's kind of an evil bastard. He doesn't have that barbaric code of honor of Conan. Here's Orin. He's kind of Conan-ish, by David C. Smith, who also did the Red Sonja novels in the 1980s. And Red Sonja is actually not a character of Robert E. Howard's. There was a Red Sonja with a Y that was a Russian or Ukrainian spy in Howard's books. The Red Sonja of the Hyborian Age was created by Roy Thomas, I think, the Marvel comic. Interesting enough, in this book, they give a reason for her to wear the chainmail bikini, because obviously it doesn't offer very much protection. It's like enchanted, which is kind of humorous that they did that. Thongor by Lynn Carter. Brack the Barbarian by John Jakes, who is more known for his North and South series of books. This is probably not his best work. Gardner F. Fox, who created The Flash. He was a DC Comics writer back in the day. I think they canned all their old writers in the early 70s or late 60s or something, and he was part of that. But it's like, these books are so bad they're good. The Kothar and Kyrick, I really love reading them. They're kind of short. And my personal first introduction to Conan was from the Savage Sword of Conan, the Marvel black and white magazine. I think they made it to get around the comics code. And then there was also the color comic with John Buscemi as an artist and Ernie Chan. I really love their artwork. I love their Conan, everything about that. That's my favorite, probably. And there's the Conan of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, which is not very accurate. A really good movie, though. Like the Secret of Steel and like that stuff. And his origin was kind of made up and all that, but I don't know, it worked for a good movie, so. Also in the 1980s, we had these pastiche books from Tor. There's probably about 40 of them or so. I think I've read probably 90% of them. With authors like Robert Jordan from The Wheel of Time, John Maddox, Robert Leonard Carpenter, Steve Perry, not Steve Perry from Journey, the Steve Perry that I think he's also wrote a bunch of Star Wars books. John Maddox, Robert, and so on. Oh, there's Carl Edward Wagner, the Kane author. I got some other stuff here from Howard. I think Bran MacMorn, he was the king of the actual Picts, like this from Scotland, with his noble Atlantean blood, the same blood that Conan had. Also, Dark Horse Comics in the 2000s well, Robert E. Howard wrote his stories not in order, because they were basically for those pulp magazines. But Dark Horse Comics put the actual Robert E. Howard stories in order with amazing artists through the 2000s. There's a guy who reads them on YouTube, page for page, called Danny Malt Comics. It's really good to watch. Also, I've been listening to the Hyborian, who does the Conan stories on YouTube. He reads them, like you can listen to them when you paint or like when you're falling asleep or whatever. And I was kind of thinking that the main drawback to this, using this world, would be everyone's got to be human, basically. And it's kind of a low fantasy setting, but the more I've been reintroducing myself to the character, it's really not a low fantasy setting. It's kind of a high fantasy setting. It's just different than the Tolkien-based fantasy that most modern fantasy is kind of based on. Also, these books came out for the Age of Conan video game, and there's also the Conan Exiles, which, I mean, they're just, everyone kind of changes it. It's not like a sacred thing like Lord of the Rings or whatnot, so people just kind of have their own fun with it. But these books came out in, I think, 2006, 2007 started. Hey, they're by Ace. Wow. They're set in the Conan world, but when Conan is king with different, but yeah, they're pretty good. Kern Wolfeye, who's a Cimmerian, I think that's where by Lauren Coleman, who does, I think, Battletech. He writes Battletech comics. And Stephen York. This one was really good too. And a few other authors, and then that ended, but good stuff. Enter Merrick's company. This is Merrick. He's a gunderman and a veteran of the Aquilonian army. This is his right-hand woman, I guess. Natalia. She's a noble. She was a princess in Brithunia. She fled an unwanted marriage. Merrick has kind of taken her under his wing. It's almost like a daughter. And then this is the Kushite Amaka. He was a pit fighter in Stygia. He's originally from Kush. He escaped along with this is Wolf here. He's from the far north of Asgard, on the far north of Nordheim, on the Asgard side. An Aesir, but a specific type of Aesir that is called an Ymrish, that has the blood of the frost giant god Ymir running through his veins. That's very valuable to dark sorcerers. And then our followers are, this is Daniel. He's a wily rogue from Shadazar the Wicked in Zamoria. He's kind of a bit of a thief, a rogue, a scoundrel. So maybe not 100% trusted. He's just a follower. He's got a little crossbow that I'm going to be using as just a self bow because it's so small. It's like a thing that he pulls out from under his cloak, surprises people with. And last but not least, we have Grommel. He is a Bosonian Quiet Forester. He's our guide as we travel around the Westermark, north of the Bosonian Marches. Our enemies are going to be the Picts, who I've got right here. And also we've got Lodor, the Bandit King. That's actually not him, but these are some of his soldiers. He was a Bandit King in the border kingdoms who fled a dispute from his brother, and somehow he's convinced the Picts that he's some sort of powerful being or whatnot, but he's got their allegiance. Which, okay, our backstory is Merrick and Natalia were in Messantia in Argos, where they met up with Amaka, the Cushite, and Wolf here, who were fleeing from the clutches of Thoth and Nook. That's going to be our main enemy. But Merrick got the call to return back to Aquilonia because a bandit king named Lodor has organized some of the Picts, and they've been raiding into settlements in the Bosonian Marches, and that his help would be much appreciated. So these four met up in Messantia and Argos, and they took a boat over here to Cordova and Zingara, where the Zamoran from Shadazar the Wicked joined their company. That's over here, Zamora, the City of Thieves, or the Shadazar the Wicked, whatever you want to call it. And then they crossed over the Black River into the Pictish wilderness here, where they've got this Bosonian named Grommel as their guide. So these are the two followers. He's the leader, second, and then these two are kind of new to the party. This is Lodor, the Bandit King, and this is his right-hand man, Newt. He's a Vanir from the far north, a real scoundrel. this was my attempt at the starter scenario in the 5 Leagues from the Borderland book. It's just to get you into the combat and getting used to it, I guess. I think I did most of it right. I need to look into stuns and will points and luck points a little bit more. Like if you're the aggressor, the attacker, I think you hit someone. If you make a hit on the first exchange, I think it goes through, but if they make the hit, then on the next exchange, well, they just defend themselves, but then on the next exchange, they have a chance to make the hit. I believe that's how it goes, but thanks for watching if you watched this, and I just do this for my own entertainment, really, so if anybody watches it, and because I like my miniatures, and this here is one of my favorite, this Battle Valor Mammoth, and let's see, Battle Valor. I got lots of Battle Valor miniatures. These Ralpart the Demon World miniatures are pretty good. They kind of remind me of the larger 30mm sculpts from Games Workshop in the 90s, but shrunk down. I think this guy might be Splintered Light. And oh, these huts are from the Alternative Armies range. This fireplace I made out of matches and just some milliput for balls and painted it up. Alright, thanks for watching.